You stand at the edge of a mist-cloaked riverbank, the curl of your breath melding into the damp air as the first grey light of dawn paints the bamboo groves with a watercolour wash. The air carries the scent of wet earth and the distant tang of fermenting rice, a heady perfume that clings to your lungs as you take a tentative step forward. Cliffs rise on either side of you, their limestone faces smooth and ancient, streaked with moss that drips like silent tears into the water below. As we step together into this world, you can hear the soft susurration of reeds brushing against each other, a gentle song that whispers tales of millennia. If you lean close, you'll catch the murmur of water running over stones, clear, icy currents that have carved their way through the crags since before any mortal memory. The air feels cool against your skin, tickling the hairs on your forearms as you shiver, despite the simple linen tunic wrapped around your torso. The path beneath your feet is narrow, carved into the cliffside by the passage of ancestors who sought refuge here during turbulent times. Your footfalls are muffled against the mossy stones, but your heartbeat thunders loud as a drum in your chest. Look around. Dragonflies skitter across the surface of the stream, their iridescent wings catching the nascent sun and fracturing it into shards of green and blue. A low wind sighs through the grove, rustling bamboo leaves high above. It sounds almost like distant laughter, playful, teasing, as if the forest itself is alive with secrets. You press a hand against the cool trunk of a bamboo stalk. The wood is knotted and smooth, as though the passage of countless lantern-lit ceremonies has polished its surface over the centuries. We continue onward, brushing past clusters of maidenhair ferns that fan beneath your fingers like the softest velvet. Their delicate fronds unfurl in perfect symmetry, an intricate dance guided by the rhythms of sun and soil. Can you taste the iron tang of the river mist on your tongue? It's crisp, bracing, carrying whispers of hidden springs far upstream. Sound drifts through the grove, the echo of distant drums, muted but insistent, beckoning you deeper into the valley. Each beat is spaced by a single breath, a steady reminder of the relentless march of time. The drums call you, speak to the warrior blood beneath your skin, urging you to remember courage when fear threatens to grip your heart. Ahead, a stone bridge arches over the river, its surface smoothed by generations of travellers. Lanterns hang from its corners, paper casings painted with crane motifs, swaying gently in the breeze. The lantern light is faint in the dawn, but as you cross the bridge, you see their colours blossom into life, soft reds and golds that glow from within like captured embers. On the far side of the bridge, the path widens into a clearing where you encounter a group of villagers. Their hair is bound with simple cords, their clothes are rough-spun hemp dyed with indigo. Their eyes, wary yet hopeful, follow your every move. One woman steps forward, offering you a small bowl of millet porridge. The steam rises like a curling serpent, carrying the warmth of hearth and home. You bring the bowl to your lips and the porridge is thick, slightly sweetened with a scattering of wild berries, each bite grounding you in the present moment, a testament to the simple means by which souls find comfort in times of uncertainty. As you finish, your fingers sticky with the residue of berries, you notice a subtle tremor in the air, like the last gasp of autumn before the world is laid bare by winter's first frost. A single snowflake drifts down behind you, a fleeting star before it dissolves on your tunic. The villagers glance skyward, their expressions a mixture of awe and dread. Heavy snow this early can mean famine, harsh winds, merciless cold. We press on, leaving the warmth of the hearth behind. The path ascends now, winding through stunted pines whose gnarled branches bear the weight of yesterday's snow, needles dusted white like ash from an extinguished fire. The bark cracks under your touch, releasing a pine-scented resin that fills your nostrils with sharp sweetness. The ground underfoot is slick, each step a careful negotiation between balance and slip. The valley opens into a plateau where a solitary hut perches against the wind, its thatched roof herringbone patterned with straw, walls of woven bamboo. Smoke drifts from the chimney, curling into the grey sky like a silent plume of prayer. Inside, you find an old man seated before a kiln. His hands are thick and scarred, proof of a lifetime working with clay and flame. He turns, offering you a cup of chrysanthemum tea. The amber liquid is warm against your palms, its floral notes dancing on your tongue. He nods toward a wheel beside him. We shaped clay as our ancestors did, he says, voice gruff with age, with patience, with respect, as we must shape our actions in this world. Outside, the wind picks up, carrying the howl of wolves across the snow-laden fields, a stark reminder of the wild that lies just beyond the boundary of hearth and home. With each sip, you feel the tea's warmth seeping through your bones. The old man's gaze holds you, a mirror reflecting a resilience you barely knew you possessed. The howling grows, closer now. A wolf's cry echoes off the hills, a chilling refrain that cuts through the hut's fragile sanctuary. You rise, feeling the wood floor's rough grain beneath your bare feet, and step back outside. The snow falls heavier now, powdering your dark hair and eyelashes so that your world turns silent and white. The wolves gather at the edge of the clearing, sleek shapes outlined against the snow, eyes glinting like moonlit glass. Their breath steams in puffs of mist, synchronized with the thud of your own heartbeat. We stand together in the whirlwind of winter's first breath, poised between the warmth of the kiln and the hungry wilderness. The wind howls, carrying the promise of trials to come, and you tighten the sash of your tunic, resolve crystallizing like frost on a window pane. Before we dive back in, let me know where you're listening from. If this journey chills you in the best way, subscribe. Tomorrow, I have another story for you. The wolf's breath hangs heavy in the air like drifting incense embers, long after their forms have melted into the swirling snow. You stand alone now, the iron tang of pine resin still clinging to your senses, as the old man's kiln ember flickers behind you in the remnant glow of the hut. A hush settles, broken only by the distant pulse of drums, as if your own heartbeats have aligned with the ancient rhythm of the valley. We push onward, pressing into the thick blanket of white that muffles our steps and dims the world into shades of silver and slate. Your cloak, woven from goat's wool and lined with rabbit fur, brushes against the frozen grasses at the edge of the path. Each bristle snaps and cracks under your touch, sending tiny shards of frost dancing like stars at your fingertips. Inhaling deeply, you taste the crisp purity of winter, an edge of wood smoke, the faint sweetness of pine sap, and the promise of fire. As we climb, the valley walls rise to form a narrow pass, flanked by sentinels of rock that loom like watchful guardians. Icicles hang from their ledges sharp as talons, refracting the pale light into a prism of muted colours. The wind sighs through this natural corridor, a low lament that carries both warning and invitation. You shiver, not from cold alone, but from the thrill of being here, at the threshold of something untold. The path narrows to a single rail of worn stone, worn smooth by feet countless times before yours. On one side, the drop falls away to an abyss of swirling snowdrifts. On the other, the cliff face juts, veins of quartz glinting like frozen tears. You press a hand to the stone wall, feeling its ancient heartbeat, solid, unyielding, a testament to the endurance of Earth itself. Midway through the pass, we pause at a natural alcove sheltered from the worst of the wind. Here, a bubbling spring emerges from beneath a rock slab, its waters steaming in the frosty air. The scent of sulphur drifts upward in soft plumes, mingling with the mineral hum of the earth. We cup our hands and drink. The water is warm and bracing, leaving a minerality on your tongue that tastes of deep caverns and molten core. Behind you, the drumbeat grows louder, its cadence now unmistakable. Each strike rings through the air like a forge hammer on a steel, calling artisans and warriors alike. Ahead you glimpse a cluster of torches flickering against the snow, their flames bobbing like terrestrial stars. They mark the entrance to an encampment carved into the mountainside, an enclave of blacksmiths who shape the iron that forges dynasties. The scent of charcoal smoke drifts toward us as we approach. You pick up stray sparks that swirl like fireflies in the gloom, landing on your cloak only to dissolve into ash. The camp feels alive, a nest of forges and hammers resonating with industry. Faces appear in the torchlight, broad-shouldered men and women, their arms wrapped in leather braces smeared with soot. They work in unison, each strike of the hammer singing a note in a symphony of creation. We move among them, feeling the heat wash over us in waves. The red glow of molten metal dances across the walls of the cavern, illuminating drips of sweat on furrowed brows. You inhale the pungent aroma of burning charcoal, sweat-soaked hides, and hot steel, your senses alight with raw elemental energy. A young apprentice offers you a shard of freshly forged iron, still warm in your palm, its surface etched with the flame's kiss, black fringes fading to gleaming silver. In the centre of the forge, a master smith stands, hammer raised, poised to strike a glowing billet on the anvil. His muscles coil like springs, every sinew visible beneath his tunic. When his hammer falls, the collision reverberates through your bones, a tactile echo that hums in your fingertips. Sparks explode, showering the cavern in fleeting stars. You taste the acrid bitterness of metal dust on your tongue, like iron filings mingling with breath. We follow the master as he guides the glowing steel into a shape, first a blade, then a curve, and finally the promise of a weapon that will outlast empires. The rhythm of hammer and anvil is hypnotic, a meditation on transformation, from raw ore to refined steel, from potential to purpose. Each strike rings with intention, the smith's focus absolute. Outside, the wind picks up again, rattling the wooden supports of the cavern's mouth. Snow swirls in vortices, whipping across the ground in ghostly whirls. A howl drifts up from below, the valley wolves, curious or hungry, drawn by the forge's heat like moths to flame. The smith pauses, his silhouette framed by the forge's glow, and nods toward us. Steel is born of struggle, he says, voice low yet as clear as the river's song. As are we. Carrying the glowing shard in your palm, its warmth seeping into your skin, we step back into the pass. The snow has intensified, falling like ash around us, blanketing the world in white. Each breath mists before your face, each step presses new tracks into the endless field of snow. We press onward, clutching steel and story both, as the pass narrows and the world contracts to the space between your boots and the sky above. The wind howls, carrying the clang of hammers into the vastness, urging you to remember that creation and destruction walk hand in hand. The path ahead curves over a ridge where you know a lantern-lit pavilion awaits, high above the valley floor. Beyond it lies the capital's outskirts, where politics and power twist like serpents in the summer heat. But here, in this frozen forge, your journey is tempered, your will hardened like the metal that now sings in your grasp. A final gust of wind sweeps through the pass, swirling snow in an ephemeral vortex. The shard in your hand glows faintly against the gloom, the only ember in a world of ice, and you hold it up to the sky. Its light fractures through the swirling flakes, scattering prisms of fire across the white canvas. Your breath escapes in a cloud that drifts up toward the lip of the world, and you feel the steel settle in your bones, an ember against winter's chill. The snowflakes settle on its surface like jewelled scales, and you know that the trials ahead will forge you anew. The embers of the forge are gone now, leaving only this shard of promise in your hand, a single point of warmth in a frozen world. The shard's warmth fades against your palm as the wind pulls you forward, whispering of distant plains and hidden corridors beneath the winter sky. You descend from the high pass, each careful step on the icy stone gouging a mark into memory itself, evidence that you were here, that you bore fire through frost. We slip between drifts that rise like frozen waves, the path narrowing until you brush against icy walls on either side. Every sound is magnified. The crunch of packed snow underfoot, the hiss of cold breath against your scarf, the murmur of unseen currents trapped beneath the mountain's heart. You press your cheek against the stone, tasting the mineral coolness, and for a moment you feel entirely suspended between what was behind and what lies ahead. As the ravine opens into rolling hills, the trees thin, stunted oaks and pines give way to wind-gnarled boulders and tufts of grass stiff with hoarfrost. Beneath the white overlay, the earth pulses with hidden warmth, geothermal veins that mingle with the mountain's frozen shell. A faint steam rises from fissures, scenting the air with sulphur and damp moss. We crest a low rise and see the sprawling city below, white roofs scattered like a broken glaze across a dark ceramic plate, walls fortified with stone and wood. Lanterns glow in clusters, drifting against the snowfall like tethered stars. Smoke curls from chimneys in lazy spirals, sketching ephemeral maps of hearth and home. Your heart quickens at the sight. The capital of Emperor Zihao, a realm of lacquered halls, jade courtyards, and the whispered intrigues that steer dynasties. Here, Winter is civil and soft, blankets of snow concealing the rot beneath. But even here, ice can shatter ambitions. We slip through a narrow sluice in the outer wall, hidden beneath the drape of a ceremonial tapestry whose crimson fabric is frozen stiff. The guards, a pair of bronze-armoured militia, shift, their breath pluming in the air like twin dragons. You catch their eyes, a flicker of recognition in one, a hesitation in the other. The first guard nods, the path opens. Inside the city, the streets are hushed beneath snow-laden eaves. Footprints glisten like ink strokes on parchment, mapping 1,000 stories across flagstone roads. We move toward the marketplace, where once barrels of salted fish and dried spices were sold under the golden sun. Now empty stalls hunker like sleepers under winter's spell. A lone vendor remains, an elderly woman huddled beneath furs, tending a brazier of coals. The scent of roasted chestnut drifts toward you, rich and nutty against the cold. She offers you a kernel, blackened and sweet, and as you bite into its warmth you taste sunlight, long gone from these streets but present in memory. Gathering your cloak tighter, we skirt the silent shops and lantern-lit doorways, heading for the river. The ancient waterway runs through the city like a ribbon of glass, its surface frozen except for a narrow channel where boats slip through. Along its banks the willow trees droop, their slender branches draped in snow like chandeliers of lace. On the frozen river, a solitary fisherman stands beside a hole cut through the ice. A lantern at his side casts golden light onto the snowy expanse. His rod is silent, the line drifting in the dark water below. You watch him, and he glances up, eyes reflecting the lantern's glow and something deeper, the patient endurance of someone who fishes not for sport but for survival. The river's breath rises in spectral plumes, swirling in time with the wind. In one such swirl you swear you hear laughter, children sledding down a hill that no longer exists, voices echoing in the hush. The sound fades, replaced by a low, mournful chant carried from the nearby temple. We step into the temple courtyard, where stone lions stand sentinel over steps furred with snow. Lanterns hang like frozen tears from the eaves of curved roofs, each carved ridge a triumph of craftsmanship over the elements. The chant grows, a chorus of monks reciting sutras that ripple through the air like silk banners. Inside the temple, warmth and incense greet you. The scent of sandalwood lingers heavy in the air, mingling with faint spirals of myrrh. Rows of statues, Buddha and Bodhisattvas, gleam with lacquer and gold leaf, eyes serene beneath arches of stone. A single candle flickers at the altar, its flame steady against draughts that rattle lattice windows. A monk with a shaved head and pale robes approaches, offering you a cup of sweet rice wine. Its heat spreads through you like the sun's promise, dissolving the chill in your bones. He speaks in low tones. Winter is a trial, but in stillness we find clarity. His words settle in your mind, each syllable a polished stone. We step back into the courtyard. Before us stands a path of stone slabs, leading to the Emperor's winter palace perched on the outskirts. The palace's walls are painted vermilion, rooftops edged in gold that catches the lantern light even through snow. Its gates are closed, flanked by stone dragons that coil skyward, their open jaws ready to breathe fate. The drums resume from within the palace walls, muted but insistent, a reminder that power, like fire, must be stoked or it dies. You feel the rhythm in your blood, an ancestral echo calling you to action. With the ember of steel still warming your grasp and the chill of snow beneath your boots, we approach the palace gates. The guards there bear the Emperor's crest, a phoenix rising from ashes. Their halberds gleam under the lantern light and they measure you with disciplined eyes. The lead sentry steps forward, his breath a steady plume. He gazes at the steel shard in your palm, then at your face. A breath passes between you, measured and silent, and he inclines his head. The gates open. Beyond them, the world of court unfolds, a labyrinth of intrigue where words can kill as surely as swords. The air inside is warmer, perfumed with tea and incense, yet you sense the frost linger in shadowed corners. We step over the threshold together, the portal sealing with a quiet click behind us. The drums pulse again, guiding our footsteps toward the heart of power. We pass beneath the vermilion arches of the Winter Palace, and a rush of warm air greets us. A swirl of tea steam, sandalwood smoke, and perfumed silk. The marble floors gleam as though they hold hidden rivers beneath, reflecting torchlight that dances along elaborately carved columns. Dragons coil around pillars, their scales rendered in lacquer and gold, mouths open in perpetual roar. A hush falls over the corridor as we move between ornate doors. Courtiers pause in their hushed discussions, screens rustle, and the scent of jasmine floods the air. Their robes, shades of indigo and crimson, brush the floor, each embroidered with the crest of their clan. Cranes in flight, tigers crouched, and the ever-watching phoenix. The drums underfoot are softer here, the muted tap-tap of sandals on stone. Yet beneath this refinement, you feel the pulse of power, a living organism pouring bile and honey in equal measure. You press your fingertips to the shard of steel concealed within your tunic, its warmth a tether to the winter forge. Ahead, at the heart of this labyrinth, lies the council chamber, a vast hall lined with jade screens that shimmer like frozen lakes. Lanterns hang from the ceiling in clusters, their fringed tassels stirring in an unseen draught. The floor is covered in furs, wolf, bear and fox pelts layered in patchwork, cushioning the weight of those who convene here. A long table of polished elm dominates the centre. It is crowned by the Emperor's seat, a high-backed chair carved like the roost of a dragon, wings unfurled. At its feet lie cushions of silk, arranged for ministers and generals. We step onto the furs and they whisper beneath our boots, soft warnings in a storm of intrigue. Voices hush as we enter. Councillors bow, their jewelled hairpins clicking like distant chimes. Their expressions are masks, smooth exteriors hiding turbulent waters. At the head of the table stands the Emperor himself, a man aged by years of frost and flame, his robes trimmed with ermine, belt clasped with jade. His eyes, dark as polished obsidian, fix on us with unreadable intent. We kneel on the furs and the council swivels, a silent tide of scrutiny. At your side, the steel shard pulses faintly against your thigh. You feel its heat echo through your blood, whispering of destiny shaped in fire. The Emperor's voice breaks the silence, smoky and measured, like a candle's flame that trembles but never dies. You've carried fire through winter's grasp, he says. From the valley forge to these halls, your journey is more than mere steps. It is a testament. Foreign dignitaries shift, advisors exchange glances. He gestures to the shard now pressed into your grip. You draw it forth, the shard of steel, forged in mountain snow and tempered by ancestral hammer. The blade's curve gleams in torchlight, edges crisp as icicles. I require such steel, he continues, to defend the realm against those who would see it crumble like brittle frost. His gaze sweeps the council. Generals, envoys and ministers, all bound by oath to shield the dragon's heart. A general steps forward, the scarred woman from the northern campaigns. Her armour bears dents and scars like trophies of victory. She takes the shard, inspecting it, her gloved fingers brushing the tempered edge. The metal hums under her touch. With this, she says, voice low as distant thunder, we can temper a new blade, one that will carry the Emperor's will into the world. The council murmurs assent, the ember of consensus glowing. Yet beneath their words you sense currents of fear and ambition. Some view this steel as salvation, others as a weapon to seize power. The winter night presses against the palace walls, its chill seeping into every stone. The Emperor motions for tea. Servants glide forward, lacquer trays laden with porcelain cups etched in cobalt blue. Steam rises in spirals, carrying the scent of jasmine and osmanthus. The tea tastes like spring's promise, incongruous against the frosted windows. We share a moment of stillness. Tea steam, soft robes brushing fur. You taste honey on your tongue, feel the hidden thaw within your chest. But the moment fractures as a courier bursts through the doors, breath ragged, cloak smeared with mud and snow. He kneels before the Emperor, voice urgent. "Sire, the northern passes have broken," he gasps. A clan of ice barbarians sweeps down, torches lit, banners unfurled, they breach the valley walls. His words crack like ice underfoot. A tremor ripples through the council. The general's hand tightens on the steel shard. The Emperor's face, pale as a winter moon, betrays no fear but flickers with resolve. They come for the heart of the realm, the Emperor intones, yet they have not reckoned with winter's steel. He turns to you, eyes burning like coals beneath snow. Your shard will temper more than blades, he declares. It will temper hope. The council rises as one, a tide of fur and silk cascading across the firs. Drums echo from the palace gates, a war drum's call that rattles the air like distant thunder. Through the jade screens you glimpse torches flickering on the city walls, banners snapping in the wind. We rise and follow the Emperor's gaze to the chamber doors, where lantern light fractures in patterns of red and gold across the snow outside. Winter's silence shatters. The realm's pulse quickens. Outside, the cold bites at your exposed skin, but your heart burns with purpose. You slip the steel shard into a leather scabbard, warmed by your hand, and secure it at your waist. The palace doors swing open as a gust of wind tousles your hair. The city awaits beyond, a labyrinth of frozen streets where spies and soldiers blend into the snow. The drums beat in time with your blood. Each echo carries the weight of destiny. Through torchlit corridors and lantern-lit alleys, we step into the December night. Above us, the phoenix banner snaps against the wind, red against white, the Emperor's will unfurled. Wolves howl in the distance, answering the call to arms. We walk into the storm, steel at your side and purpose in your bones, ready to face the fires that winter will bring. The first crack of dawn finds us on the outer ramparts of the frozen city, where the snow drifts weigh heavy against the stone battlements. The air is electric with expectation, every breath a plume of vapour that dances on the wind. Below, enemy torches flicker like a swarm of red fireflies across the valley floor, and the low rumble of the ice barbarian's war drum carries on the breeze, a relentless heartbeat that threatens to drown out our own. You tighten the straps of your leather armour, feeling the steel shard scabbard press against your hip, a silent promise of the weapon yet to be shaped. Around you, the Emperor's soldiers move with disciplined purpose. Archers string their bows, hammering arrows fletchings to the rhythmic chant of commanders. Spearmen align in ranks, their spears glinting icily in the pale morning light. Cavalry horses huff steam onto the snow as they paw the frozen ground, restless under saddle. The Emperor stands before you on a raised dais, his breath steady, his gaze steady. He raises his arm and the phoenix banner unfurls, its red and gold contrails caught by the wind. As the banner snaps, the soldier's call resounds in a single unified cry, a sound that fractures the silent dawn and knocks at your very soul. You step forward to the front line, the wind biting through your clothes, chasing warmth from your bones. Each footstep splinters snow into tiny crystals that chime like delicate bells. The enemy's war drum rolls again, thrumming through the stone beneath your boots, reminding you that beneath ice lies the threat of fire. A sudden gust sweeps across the rampart, rattling the wooden palisade and sending a spray of snow across the assembled army. You cup your hands to shield your eyes against the flurry and catch sight of the barbarians. Tall, fierce, their faces painted with swirling lines of blue and white, spears tipped with jagged ice-forged metal. They approach in jagged formations, their banners of bone and fur snapping in the wind. Between their lines, shamans chant in guttural tones, their voices rising in a crescendo that seems to shake loose fragments of sky. We draw our breath in unison, a collective intake that resolves into steel clashing steel as the front ranks of cavalry surge forward. Horses charge like thunder across the snow, hooves shattering the ice crust. Riders lean low, lances poised to strike. You watch their silhouettes crash into the barbarian vanguard, an eruption of fury that billows snow and dust in a storm. The clang of steel on steel rings out, bright, sudden, like lightning splitting a winter sky. Archers release waves of arrows, their flight a murmuration of death that arcs over the melee. You can almost taste the acrid tang of iron on the wind, hear each arrow's whispered hiss before it finds flesh or leather. Amid the chaos, you slip through the fray, guided by destiny's ember. Officers clear a path with halberds, and you find yourself before the general who carries the blade you helped envision. The polished steel glints under the torches strapped to the palisade walls, a blade worthy of legends. She nods at you, and with swift grace she wields the sword, its edge carving through the ice air. Sparks erupt as steel meets shield, each blow a spark of creation in a crucible of war. You feel the shard's warmth stir in your heart, echoing the forge's pulse. Beyond the wall, the barbarians falter, some driven back by cavalry, others pinned by arrows. Their war drum falters, stuttered beats lost in the roar of battle. A hush falls, broken only by the clang of the final strike, the barbarian banner collapsing into the snow. This story took us a long time to gather. If you're finding it worth the cold, subscribe. And now, back to the hearth. The words echo in your mind as you survey the field. Frozen tents, broken spears, and the fallen who lie like statues of ice. The survivors of both armies stand panting, weapons lowered, eyes meeting across the expanse of snow. You step forward, the frost cracking under your boots, and raise the phoenix banner high. Its red flame against white draws gasps from the watchers, hope rekindled amid winter's hush. The general approaches, blade in hand, and offers it to the Emperor's standard bearer. Together you plant the sword beside the banner, a twin symbol of fire and flight. The wind carries your victory cry across the ramparts, a clarion call that melts fear and forges resolve. But beyond this moment of triumph, you sense the next ember glowing in the distance, a trial that will demand more than steel. Winter's heart still beats, waiting for you to step into its depths. The snow-draped banners still flutter like silent spectres as dawn's pale light spreads across the ramparts. The battlefield below, once alive with the clash of steel and the roar of war drums, now lies hushed beneath a veil of snow, each fallen soldier half buried, their breath forever frozen in the air. You descend from the battlements, the phoenix banner trailing behind you like a wounded bird seeking the sky. The path to the city gates is lined with wounded and weary, soldiers whose armour bears the scar of battle, their faces streaked with soot and snow. You pause to crouch beside a young archer, her fingers curled around an arrow, but her eyes are closed, her breath shallow. You press a hand to her brow. Her body is cold, but in her fingers you place a shard of the tempered steel, and she sighs, eyes fluttering open as warmth floods her veins. She rises on unsteady legs, gratitude shining in her gaze, and presses the arrow into your palm. Without a word, she turns and walks toward the temple's healers, her steps gaining strength with every heartbeat. We tread through the silent streets, the lantern light bouncing off snowbanks taller than men. Along the way, villagers emerge from shuttered homes, their faces lined with worry, softening as they see the phoenix banner carried high. Children peer from behind frosted windows, and elders lower their heads in respect. The city, shaken by the barbarians' incursion, exhales in relief. The palace gates stand open, the vermilion paint chipped by frost and war. Beyond them, the courtyard is strewn with supplies, stacks of salt, barrels of preserved fish, bundles of firewood. Courtiers bustle, their nervous whispers punctuated by the crackle of torches. We move with purpose toward the central pavilion, where the Emperor awaits. Inside, the council chamber is transformed. Tables are laden with maps and scrolls, each marked with red-capped quills. Generals and ministers huddle, their discussion urgent. Repair the walls, ration the stores, send envoys to neighbouring provinces for aid. The Emperor stands at the head of the table, his expression calm yet resolute. The shard of steel, now forged into a gleaming blade, rests upon the map, its edge catching the lantern light like a promise. He turns to you, his dark eyes deep as an anvil's forge. Winter's trial is not over, he says. The barbarians' assault was but a spark. Frost will come again, and with it, threats not only of steel, but of hunger, of betrayal. We must strengthen our bonds, kindle the flames of alliance, and feed the hearths of our people. You nod, feeling the weight of his words lock into your bones. In your satchel, the remaining shards of that first steel lay wrapped in cloth, promises yet to be fulfilled. Somewhere beyond the city walls, forges await, and artisans stand ready to transform metal into the instruments of fate. A minister steps forward, a diplomat from the southern provinces. His robes, unlike the winter whites and storm greys, are tuned in deep greens and golds. He bows, voice courteous but firm. My Emperor, I bring word of the Jade Coast. Their fleets are eager to answer our call, yet they seek assurances of gold and grain. They ask, what pledge can this realm offer? Murmurs ripple through the chamber. Grain reserves have dwindled with the harsh winter, and every measure of rice is careful counsel. Yet famine must not follow war. The Emperor turns to you. Our journey began with fire forged in snow. Now we must carry that fire to nourish our allies, to warm those whose hearths grow cold. Will you deliver this message to the Jade Coast? Your heart quickens. The south is far, through mountain passes and river valleys where winter still holds sway. Yet the journey calls, a chance to carry hope beyond the frozen walls. I will, you reply, voice steady as tempered steel. A courier prepares a saddlebag on a sturdy steed, a black mare whose flanks are thick with winter coat. You buckle the saddle, feeling the smooth leather under your fingers, and secure the satchel containing royal edicts and silver coins. Outside, the snow has begun to melt in patches where lantern light lingers. Icicles drip onto the ground, each drop a note in an unfinished melody. The city gates stand silent sentinels as you mount your mare, the phoenix banner now folded and strapped to the saddle's rear. The first hoofbeat cracks the stillness. You urge the mare forward through the gates, feeling the world open into a corridor of white, roads lined with evergreens, their branches bowed beneath snow, hills rolling into a distant haze, the river's path traced by half-frozen ice. As we ride, the winter wind carries distant calls, woodcutters felling trees to feed the palace fires, monks chanting at isolated shrines, the cry of migratory cranes overhead, heading south to warmer isles. You guide the mare along a track carved into the snow, each hoofprint a marker of your resolve. In your cloak's folds you feel the pulse of the shard-turned blade, its warmth a reminder that even in deepest frost fire endures. The road climbs toward a mountain pass where the snow returns in earnest. Jagged pines guard the trail, their trunks wrapped in frost like frozen braids. A narrow bridge spans a chasm, its wooden planks creaking under the mare's weight. You cross with care, the wind roaring beneath you like a living beast. On the far side, a cave mouth yawns beneath a ledge. Smoke curls from within, sign of a hermit's hearth, or perhaps bandits seeking shelter. Your hand rests on the pommel, ready for steel or parley. The mare senses your tension, her ears flicking back. You whisper into her ear, "Steady, old friend. We carry the kingdom's hope." Inside the cave, a figure emerges, a cloaked stranger whose breath mists in the cold air. He holds out a wooden staff topped with iron, eyes bright under a hood. "Traveller," he says, voice rough as gravel. "These mountains belong to no kingdom. What makes you think you may pass?" The wind gusts, carrying flakes of snow into the dark throat of the cave. You dismount, boots crunching on packed earth, and meet his gaze. In your hand, the satchel of edicts rests against your thigh. "I carry more than words," you say. "I bring fire to forge alliances, steel to protect the realm's future, and hope to those who cannot stand alone." The stranger's eyes narrow. "Hope has a price," he rasps, "and fire can both warm and burn. The storm rages outside, yet here, in the hush of rock and shadow, destiny awaits." You take a breath. The stranger's staff hovers between us like a lightning rod, its iron tip frosted with mountain cold. His breath forms a halo in the mineshaft gloom, and the mare stamps, restless beside you. The cave's opening frames the world, a whitened trail spiralling toward the Jade Coast's distant sun. Weighed by the satchel of edicts and silver, you stand firm, cloak pinned against the keening wind. The stranger's eyes flick to the satchel, then to the steel blade at your side. "Words," he murmurs, voice remade in the echo of dripping water, "may bear gold, but they cannot fill empty bellies nor mend shattered wills. What do you offer beyond promises?" Your heart hammers like a war drum. You reach into your breast, withdrawing the blade, its edge honed by fire and blood, glinting faint warmth in the torchlight. The cave walls, carved by ancient rivers, catch its reflection in flickers of orange and gold. "This," you say, voice calm as a frozen lake, "is forged from winter's fire. It defends hearths, secures borders, and shapes the fate of the realm. With it, we cut through famine's shadow and carve roads of hope." The stranger's staff taps the earth, a measured beat that responds to your words. His cloak falls back, revealing armour beneath, scales of dull bronze, each plate etched with symbols of wandering nomads. Beneath his hood, a scar snakes from temple to jaw. A blade's promise is as fleeting as a breath, he retorts. But I am a guardian of these passes. Trade a promise for safe passage through stone, and I shall let you ride unchallenged. He steps aside, gesturing toward the pass beyond. Then ride as the wind and carry your realm's hope to warmer shores, or turn back now and join the bones beneath us. The wind roars approval from outside. The mare shivers, ready to spring forward. You replace the blade, nodding your head in gratitude. Your vigilance honours us, you reply. May this blade stand as testament to your watch, guardian of thresholds. He inclines his head, and with a single step retreats into the cave's shadow, torch in hand. You mount and guide the mare over the threshold. Snow dazzles your senses, each flake a frozen note in an unwritten symphony. The trail narrows, winding between jagged rocks, polished by wind and time. You guide the mare with gentle words. She knows the way better than any map. Hoofbeats tap a steady rhythm on packed snow. Your cloak flutters like a banner in a silent parade. The mountains yield to rolling hills peppered with bamboo thickets and evergreen pines. Drifts recede to reveal earth mottled with frost, and the air warms with every mile. You can almost taste the salt on the horizon, a promise of ocean winds. Midway down the pass, the trail intersects a frozen stream. Ice crystals cluster on the reeds, and a thin veil of mist rises where water still flows beneath. You dismount, guiding the mare to a safe crossing. Beneath the surface, the current hums with hidden life, a reminder that even under ice, rivers persist. Once across, the lands open into a forest of camellias. Trees burst with deep crimson blossoms that defy winter's grasp. Their petals fall like drops of blood onto the snow, each a quiet testament to perseverance. You breathe in their sweetness. The scent lingers on your lips. Two figures block the path ahead, cloaked envoys of the Jade Coast, their garments silken and trimmed with jade beads. Their sandals rest on a plush carpet of fallen leaves, odd under snow. One steps forward, arms crossed, eyes assessing. Bearer of Zihau's seal, she says, voice smooth as polished stone. Why does the winter court send its messenger so late? Crops wither, tongues thirst, and our granaries groan under the weight of trade embargoes. She gestures to a carved pavilion lit by lanterns, smoke curling from its eaves. You dismount, bowing in respect. Great envoy, you begin, voice carrying the weight of the Emperor's breath. I bring grain and gold, but more than that, I bring the bond of a realm shaped by fire and tempered by frost. The Jade Coast shall not stand alone against the tides of fortune. You press the satchel into her hands. The jingling of coins echoes like hope. She lifts the satchel, eyes widening at the sight of silver bars stamped with the Emperor's crest. Her companion releases a breath. This alleviates hunger, she admits. But what of trade? Our ships lie idle without passage through your northern ports. You offer the jade-beaded scroll, a treaty sealed by silk ribbon and imperial wax. Let these words carve a new path. Mutual passage for trade in exchange for defence pacts. Your fleets will guard our coasts. Our armies will shield your caravans. The envoy's fingers brush the scroll's texture. In that moment, the wind carries the murmur of waves far below. May the ocean's breath answer to our alliance, she says, and may the winter winds carry your realm's gratitude. She hands you a small porcelain vial, amber liquid swirling within. For the journey south, keep the elixir close. It is distilled from lotus and ginger, heat for your bones and clarity for your mind. You accept the gift and secure it within your cloak. As you mount your mare once more, the envoys step aside, their lantern-light guiding your path. The forest of camellias recedes into paddy fields, webbed with irrigation channels that mirror the sky's pale blue. Beyond the fields, the land tilts gently downward, and a salty breeze greets you. The Jade Coast unfurls in the distance. Fishing boats bob like yawning dragons, their nets folded like spent sails. A lighthouse stands sentinel on a rocky outcrop, its beacon dormant until night falls. You pause at the cliff's edge, gazing upon the expanse of sea and sky. Salt spray tickles your nostrils. Gulls wheel overhead, their cries sharp against the wind's hum. The mare nuzzles your hand, grounding you in the present moment. With maps drawn and alliances forged, the next step awaits, crossing the bay to the coastal city of Lianzhou, where pirates lurk and markets bustle like living mosaics. The path by sea is fraught with storms and sea serpents of legend, but within your cloak, the Emperor's seal is proof that this blade and its bearer carry the realm's will. South has begun in earnest, each hoofbeat a promise to the Empire and to the flame within your bones. As the sun dips toward the horizon, you see Lianzhou's lanterns ignite, a constellation of civilization against the vast, darkening sea. You urge the mare onward, feet slipping on the moss-soft earth now exposed. The journey. The wind carries the scent of brine and jasmine, mingling the remnants of winter with the promise of spring's warmth. In your breast, the fire once sparked within mountain ice now burns steady and bright. And so we ride into the twilight, steel at your side and destiny in your reins, ready to navigate the tides of fortune. The tide's lull carries us through the narrow inlet toward Lianzhou, the coastal city rising like a half-submerged pearl against the horizon. Lanterns lining wooden piers cast long, wavering reflections across the water. The salt in the air mingles with the scent of roasting fish and the faint smoke of wood-fired kilns. Gulls cry overhead, wheeling in endless circles as if to herald our arrival. You dismount at the stone quay, where sailors unload crates embossed with foreign emblems, silk from the Western Ocean, spices from the Southern Isles. The planks beneath your boots creak, dripping seawater glinting like polished obsidian at your feet. Each droplet tastes of brine and brimstone, whispers of storms yet to come. We weave through the labyrinth of stalls in the bustling market, traders calling out their wares in a dozen tongues, the clang of hammers shaping bronze mirrors, the steady churn of noodle carts steaming in the cool night air. The lamp glow bathes every face in warmth, eyes bright with hope, brows furrowed in bargaining. You feel the life of the city in rhythm with your own pulse. A merchant beckons, offering a piece of jade carved into a phoenix, its wings spread wide, frost-veined as though born of winter's breath. He smiles, revealing gold teeth, and you sense both opportunity and threat in his gaze. Before you can speak, a commotion erupts. Robed figures charge through the crowd, cutlasses flashing under lantern light. Their feathers and bone-adorned garb mark them as the Red Wave pirates. Shouts rise as market-goers scatter, baskets of fruit and piles of mats thrown aside in panic. A pirate captain steps forward on the quay's edge, his cloak billowing, cutlass raised. He scans the crowd, terror rippling like a wave. His voice, as rough as barnacle-encrusted hulls, booms. "Bring forward any with imperial seal." The Emperor's messenger sits among you, rich reward for his head. The market stills, a hush broken only by distant waves lapping at the quay. Your hand moves to the vial at your side, the amber elixir gifted by the southern envoy. The faint heat within pulses, echoing the fire in your veins. You exchange a look with your mare, whose flanks heave beneath its winter coat. Drawing a breath, you step forward, cloak held high to conceal the seal. The pirate's eyes lock onto you. You pause, feeling the weight of their gazes, the press of the night air like a physical force. Then, with deliberate calm, you raise a hand and pour a drop of the elixir onto the wooden deck. The liquid hisses as it hits the wood, steam curling like a cobra's hood. Pirates shield their eyes as a shimmer unfolds, an illusionary torrent rising between us, waves of phantom water crashing against the quay. The lantern light fractals through the vapour, casting dancing prisms. Hearts beat tight in chests. The pirate captain snarls and lunges forward, but your mare rears, hooves striking the planks. The illusion shudders and dissolves, revealing both of you standing defiantly amid scattered stalls. In the sudden lull you speak. "I carry the Emperor's will. Harm me and your ships will burn beneath the tide. Accept alliance, and your coffers will overflow with silk and jade." A tense silence. Then, laughter, sharp and discordant, spilling from the pirate ranks. "A bold bluff," the captain rasps. He draws his cutlass and beckons. "Then let us test your steel. Step forth, messenger. Face the sea's wrath unshielded by parchment." Your blade slides free, its edge catching the lantern light, cold as moonlit frost. You stand ready, mare panting beside you, the market's pulse falling to a hush. As steel meets steel in the first ringing clash, the world narrows to the sparks that bloom at the crossing of blades. Each strike sends splinters of wood into the air and echoes in the hollows of your bones. Around you, the market fades, replaced by the cadence of battle, the pirates' guttural cries, your breath rasping in and out, the thud of your heart like a war drum. Under the pier, the tide swirls closer, eager to taste the salt of blood. The cut of your blade carves through the lantern-lit haze, echoing against wooden stalls like thunder in a clearing sky. Your adversary's cutlass shivers beneath the impact, a shower of sparks illuminating his cruel grin. The mare whinnies, stamping the deck as waves lap against the quay's pilings. Each slice of steel sends a shiver up your arm, the metal singing a song older than empires. Around you, spilled baskets of dried fruits and overturned crates paint the snow-dusted wood with splashes of crimson and jade. The air tastes of sweat, smoke, and the brine of the ocean. Your opponent lunges, brandishing his blade in a downward arc. You pivot on the balls of your feet, letting the edge glance off your steel with a hollow clang. His momentum carries him forward, and you seize the moment, sweeping your leg in a low arc, tripping him so he crashes into a stack of tea chests. The crates shatter, releasing the fragrance of oolong into the cool night. Before he can rise, you press your blade to his throat. His chest heaves beneath his coat, eyes wide as lantern orbs. Behind you, the pirates hesitate, caught between fear and fury. In the hush, the harbour's wind rattles the remaining lanterns, casting the scene in jittering light. You lower your blade, but keep the point at his skin. "Leave this market," you say, voice calm yet resonant. "Tell your captain. The Emperor's messenger stands between sea and shore. Let this serve as warning." The pirate's breath puffs in ragged clouds. At your words he nods, trembling. His comrades seize him, and backwards they retreat, drawing lines in the sand that mark the boundary they dare not cross. Hooves echoes as the mare shifts behind you, her presence a living reminder of the power guiding your hand. The market exhales, life and light flooding back in scattered murmurs. A child emerges from behind a stall, eyes wide with awe as he gazes at your blade. The citizen's steel, born from fire in mountain forges. You sheath the sword and bend to offer the child a piece of dried plum, its tart sweetness a balm to frayed nerves. A merchant approaches, head bowed. In his hands, he holds a finely wrought fan, bamboo ribs lacquered black, paper face painted with a phoenix rising from embers. "For your journey," he says, "may its wind carry you safely through storms." The fan's surface feels smooth beneath your fingers. The phoenix seems ready to take flight. The envoy's vial rests against your side, its amber elixir now a beacon of comfort amid salt and sea dogs. You pour a few drops into your palm, inhaling its ginger warmth, and feel resolve bloom in your chest like spring's first crocus. We retrace our steps toward the ship that brought us, passing clusters of fishermen whose nets glint with the moon's reflection. Their nods speak gratitude, and a shared understanding of living by the sea's mercy. A figure emerges from the shadows at the quay's end, the Red Wave captain, silhouette crowned by lantern glow. He watches from a distance, arms folded, eyes unreadable through the dusk. Slowly he lifts his head in acknowledgement, an unspoken respect earned through the song of steel. On the deck of the small junk, sailors ready the sails. Lanterns are lit within, casting the interior in warm gold. The ship's timbers creak under the weight of cargo. Crates of silk, sacks of grain, barrels of salt. Above, the sky pale as fractured jade reveals the first hint of dawn. We board, the gangplank's wood whispering underfoot. The ship lists gently as crew push off, and lanterns shift on ropes like fireflies carried by a gentle breeze. The sea stretches into rippling infinity, waves licking the hull with merry persistence. You stand at the prow, cloak billowing. The open ocean greets you, foam-capped waves dancing under lantern light. The air is thick with salt and possibility. Somewhere ahead lies Lianzhou's port, where roads stretch inland toward the Empire's heart. In your hand you clasp the fan, the elixir, and the Emperor's seal, tokens of alliance, instruments of ambition. The sea's breath soothes your senses even as it stirs the memory of snow-laden hills. A sudden gust snaps the sails into life and the junk surges forward. Each wave carries a promise of new alliances forged in sudden heat, of storms to weather, and of tales yet unwritten. As the shoreline recedes, lanterns become stars fallen to the sea. You shiver in the wind, but in your heart the fire glows steady, a hearth against the tides, against... Night envelopes the junk in a velvet cloak, lanterns bobbing like distant constellations on the restless sea. Beneath your fingers, the polished wood of the prow feels almost alive, rocking in time with the heartbeat of the waves. Each breath you draw tastes of salt and soft ginger, a reminder of the elixir's lingering warmth. We lean into the wind, cloak tails snapping like battle standards as the junk cleaves through water. The deck creaks beneath your boots, a rhythmic counterpoint to the rustle of sails above. Somewhere amid the darkness, the ship's cook murmurs prayers to the sea gods, the scent of spiced rice drifting upward to mingle with night's chill. The moon's silver arc slices across the water's surface, illuminating ribbons of phosphorescence that play at the hull's edge. In the glow, you catch sight of fish darting beneath the waves, ghostly silhouettes flickering like echoes. You taste brine on your lips, and your mind drifts to the snow-crusted peaks of the north, where steel was forged in frozen forges. Now you are adrift, carrying that steel's promise across fathoms of midnight. Torches flicker on deck as sailors huddle around the galley's heat, stirring bowls of stew that steam in the night air. They pass cups of rice wine, crimson liquid that warms your chest and loosens tongues. A grizzled mariner leans toward you, voice low as the seas sigh. Emperor's messenger, your reputation precedes you. They say you cornered pirates with but a drop of elixir and a blade's whisper. But out here, steel and guile will meet storms beyond mere men. You tilt your chin toward him, the lantern glow painting your face in amber. Storms are tests of resolve, and we have weathered worse. The mariner nods, respect flickering in his rheumy eyes. Suddenly a sharp cry splits the night. Sails! On the starboard bow! A lookout's voice rings from aloft, tension crackling through the crew. Heads snap upward as dark shapes unfurl against the horizon. Sails black as pitch. Hulls low in the water like beasts stalking the moonlit surface. Pirate junk, yes, but not our previous adversaries. These ships fly a banner of a coiled serpent across a crimson field. The Scarlet Serpent Fleet, infamous privateers who prey on merchant convoys and even challenge coastal fortresses when opportunity calls. The wind shifts, snatching the sails taut. You steady yourself against the railing, heart pounding a warlike tattoo. The mariner leans in. Scarlet Serpents take no bribes and honour no treaties. If they catch us unprepared, they'll take this ship and its cargo, and us with it. His words hang in the air like a challenge. Below deck you remember the Emperor's seal strapped to your chest and the fan's painted phoenix. They are proof and promise, but against these pirates they may be fragile shields. You draw the blade at your side, its edge still keen, its warmth a spark in the cool night. Sound the alarms, you command, voice carrying across the deck. Lanterns sway as sailors rush to brace the rails, ready the muskets stored beneath crates, and haul down the rice wine. Torches flare in their holders, and the junk's silhouette sharpens, resolved against the looming threat. Out on the water, the Scarlet Serpent flagship cuts through waves with predatory grace. Cutter boats lowering into the sea. Lanterns aboard those boats glow like bale fires. The rippling reflections look like snakes dancing across the water's skin. You secure the fan and elixir in your cloak's folds and secure the sword at your hip. The crew gathers at your back, eyes alight with fierce determination. The mariner who spoke earlier grasped your shoulder. We sail together, messenger. Our blades and faith guide the way. A lantern's beam pierces the darkness as the enemy boats close the distance. The wind carries the shouts of the privateers, voices rough as barnacles scraping hulls. Ahead, the junk's deck hums with activity. Powder charges loaded, pikes braced, the captain shouting orders in a dialect heavy with southern drawl. With a deep breath you step forward. The blade in your hand glints like a shard of starlight. Hold fast, for the Emperor, for the hearths we protect. A thunderous volley of musket fire cracks through the night, the report reverberating through your bones. Lanterns flicker, illuminating faces set with grim resolve. The first boarding plank thuds against your hull, and the Scarlet Serpent's flag flaps mockingly above. Steel meets steel in a clash that rings like temple bells. You parry a cutlass strike, sparks flying as iron kisses iron. Around you, sailors push back invaders with pikes, the deck echoing with the clash of blades and the roar of battle cries. In the chaos, you see the galley door fly open, steam pouring out as the cook hurls hot oil into the water, hissing as it meets the sea. The first boarding boat jolts as men scramble to avoid the scalding spray. Above the din, you hear a voice call your name, the mariner at your back. They breach the stern. You spin, catching sight of pirates forcing the quarterdeck ladder. You race toward the rail, planting your boot on the last rung as you swing up onto the privateer boat. His blade guards the way, a barrier of steel between the junk and its doom. You engage the front line, each strike sending pirates into the water's grip. Their boots slip on wet wood, their cries lost to waves. You leap across boards, directing sailors to secure the planks and push the boarders back. The lanterns overhead sway in protest as the wind tries to snuff their flames. The musket fire ebbs and flows in staccato bursts. Yet amid the chaos you feel calm, each heartbeat mapped to the blade's arc, each breath measured against the tide's rhythm. Ahead, the flagship's lantern looms, its light like a snake's eye. The pirate boarding party falters and you seize the moment. Planting your feet, you drive the blade forward, cleaving through the pirate leader's guard and forcing him backward. A crash echoes as the boarding plank shifts. Sailors shout, seizing the moment to shove the plank away. With a final surge, you topple the pirate captain overboard. His body lands with a splash that quells the tide. The remaining invaders hesitate, battered by musket fire and the blade's authority. Then, one by one, they retreat, rowing back toward their ship's darkness, leaving the junk to ride victorious upon the heaving waves. Panting, you stand amidst the aftermath. Cut rigging, splintered wood, and the glint of seawater on steel. The crew cheers, a wild, fierce sound that rises into the night sky, mingling with the wind's howl. You lean against the rail, the sea's spray cooling the sweat on your face. In your hand, the blade hums softly, a living echo of the forge that birthed it. The junk's captain offers a nod across the deck, respect in his weathered eyes. You nod back, feeling the weight of destiny both heavy and light. On the horizon, the distant lights of Lianzhou wink, guiding our course. The ocean stretches endless ahead, and in its depths lies the promise of spring's warmth and trials yet unseen. Dawn breaks in bruised purples over the restless sea, painting the horizon with the promise of both blood and hope. The deck beneath your boots still trembles from the battle's climax, each plank echoing the final clash with the Scarlet Serpent's captain. Lanterns flicker against the wind's chill, giving fleeting form to the scattered after-images of war. Droplets of seawater scattered like tears, glints of steel still warm with conflict. We gather at the prow, the salty air filling our lungs with its bracing clarity. The junk's hull cuts through the waves, carving a path from one era into the next. Beside you, the blade forged in Winter's Forge rests in its scabbard, a sleeper of fire waiting to awaken once more. In your cloak, the fan and vial, tokens of alliance and sustenance, lie silent, their purpose momentarily fulfilled. Around you, the crew moves with hushed deliberation. Sailors patching torn sails, the cook ferrying steaming broth to shivering hands, and the mariner who once warned of storms now standing watch with practised eye. Each member carries the mark of battle, smudges of soot, drips of oil, flecks of crimson on weather-beaten faces, but also the fire of survival flickering in their gaze. Above, a flock of gulls rides the morning thermals, their cries weaving into the junk's rhythmic creak. The sea, as if in gratitude or irony, laps softly against the hull, its surface glassy and calm, a mirror to a sky that shifts from violet to rose. You close your eyes, feeling the blade's warmth resonate through your thigh, and for a moment the world holds its breath. But stillness is a fleeting guest. Far ahead, Lianzhou's silhouette grows, its lanterns glittering like distant stars strung upon the water's edge. Beyond the city, the land yawns into green fields and meandering rivers, promising the next stage of our journey. Roads lined with whispering bamboo, villages warmed by hearth fires, and the hidden alleys of inland politics where rustling silks can speak louder than any drum. The ship's captain approaches, his cloak still damp from the night spray. His voice is low, rich with respect and the knowledge of miles conquered on your behalf. The scarlet serpents may bleed us, but they cannot drown our resolve, he says. Ahead lies Lianzhou, where the next chord of our tale awaits. Will you stand with me on solid ground once more? You place a hand on the cannon's cooled barrel, feeling its iron weight, a counterpart to the blade at your side. We stand as one, you reply, bound by oath and steel, by winter's fire and the sea's breath. Let Lianzhou's gates open to our purpose. The captain nods and raises a signal down the mast. Sailors spring to their stations, adjusting rigging and guiding the junk toward harbour. The water shimmers with reflected dawn, and with each wave we draw closer to the shores of Lianzhou, where new alliances will be tested, and where fire and ice will meet again in the dance of destiny. The fan's phoenix gleams beneath your cloak as the first rays of sun crest the city walls. In this fragile hour between night's end and morning's claim, you feel the weight of every choice that led here. Forge and frost, storm and strife. And just beyond Lianzhou's harbour, an unseen watcher marks your approach, fingers tapping a message into the clay of fate. The drumbeats of court intrigue echo from the roads ahead, promising that the fire lit in winter's forge will soon burn bright in the gardens of power, or consume them utterly. The junk glides into Lianzhou's harbour, and the hull settles against the wooden pier with a gentle tremor. We step ashore together, each footfall a punctuation in the city's hushed dawn. Salt breeze gives way to the richer scent of rice paddies and tea smoke drifting from early risers lighting their hearths. The quay is quiet now, but in your mind the echo of battle still thrums like a distant drum. You pull your cloak tighter, feeling the weight of the phoenix fan and the elixir vial pressed against your side. The blade forged in winter's crucible rests at your hip, its promise a steady heartbeat beneath your tunic. Around us, Lianzhou unfolds. Narrow streets lined with jasmine bushes, roofs of green tile glistening with dew, and lanterns swaying like fireflies caught in silk. We move through a wooden gate carved with coiling dragons whose eyes seem to follow our passage. Inside, the city hums with life. Merchants set out baskets of sugarcane and lychee. Street bakers coax steam from bamboo steamers filled with pork buns, and chorus of voices. Prosperous greetings, whispered deals, the laughter of children chasing wooden hoops. As we weave through the morning's tapestry, you taste the sweetness of freshly boiled sugarcane juice. Feel the warm stickiness on your lips. You catch the scent of jasmine tea in a nearby tea house, its floral aroma mingling with the hum of gossip drifting from lacquered tables. A procession emerges from the government offices, officials in dark robes trimmed with gold thread, their hats shaped like folded wings. At their centre walks a magistrate, his expression serene yet unreadable. He carries a scroll sealed with crimson wax, the mark of imperial decree. The crowd parts in respect, and you sense a stirring undercurrent, whispers of new taxes, rumours of land apportionment for northern settlers. A street performer draws attention as he juggles lacquered orbs that glow like embers. The crowd presses in, and you pause to watch, the rhythm of his movements hypnotic, each catch and toss resonating with precise control. For a moment the weight of responsibilities lightens, replaced by the simple marvel of human skill. But the moment shatters as a distant gong rolls, the signal that court business begins. The magistrate halts, raising his hand. Drums beat from the nearby government compound, and the officials pivot, their robes brushing the cobblestones. Behind them, a pair of soldiers brandish spears carved with dragon scales, their armour reflecting dawn's light. The magistrate's gaze drifts our way, and for a heartbeat, you meet his eyes. His stare is calm yet probing, as if assessing the pulse of the empire itself. Then he inclines his head to his entourage and strides toward the grand hall, its doors imposing, carved with scenes of imperial triumph and peacocks displaying jewelled tails. We exchange a brief look, a silent question, an answer in one breath. The path ahead lies within those halls, where parchment and petition dictate fates more cunning than any battlefield. Stepping into the courtyard, we feel the shift in air. Incense from braziers curls around marble pillars, carrying sandalwood and frankincense. Stone lions flank the steps, their manes elaborately carved, eyes rimmed with gold. The marble floor is cool and smooth beneath your boots, each step echoing like the tolling of a distant bell. Inside the council chamber, the light softens through rice paper screens etched with willow motifs. Scrolls and inkstones line the shelves. Crimson cushions await petitioners at a low table strewn with documents. At the far end sits a council of elders, senior ministers draped in robes of jade and cinnabar, their faces lined with age and ambition. We kneel as we enter. The council's gaze falls upon us with silent scrutiny. The magistrate from outside stands behind the nearest elder, his scroll tucked under one arm. He clears his throat. Honourables, I present the Emperor's messenger, survivor of Winter's Forge and Sea's trial. He brings word of alliance and grain from the capital, and seeks passage for the Jade Coast fleet through our northern ports. His voice is polite but firm, carrying the weight of protocol. A minister with a hooked nose and lips stained from tea raises a hand. The Emperor's messenger, he repeats, voice smooth as lacquer. Winter's trials proved fierce, yet these southern waters offer comforts unknown. Tell us, what does the Emperor seek beyond grain and silk? Does he hunger for our ports, our taxes, our autonomy? A murmur ripples through the chamber. You feel the fan tucking your cheek with its phantom breeze. The vial's warmth hums beneath your ribs like a secret. You rise, offering respect with a slight bow. In a measured tone you reply, the Emperor seeks partnership, not dominion. The Jade Coast ships will guard our shores. In return he offers access to northern routes, new markets for your artisans and merchants. You unfurl the treaty sail. Gathering composure, you reach within your cloak and present a small ledger, accounts of grain reserves from southern provinces, signed by the Jade Coast governor and stamped with emerald ink. These figures attest our capacity. We will dispatch ships laden with rice, and in turn, your merchants may claim tariffs from goods bound for the northern kingdoms. You offer the ledger. The elders study the documents. Their faces shift from scepticism to contemplation. Outside, a lone drumbeat echoes, an unseen herald marking the passage of time. At last, the hooked-nosed minister nods. Should these shipments arrive as pledged, we accept the accord. But know this, breach the treaty, and Lianzhou's walls will resist any force, be it frost or flame. His words hang heavy, a reminder that alliances are as fragile as ice underfoot. The scroll and ledger are taken by the magistrate, who promises to deliver them to the Emperor's envoy. The council rises, and the council chamber's atmosphere lightens, a pact forged in wax and ink, tempered by trust and caution. We bow, the chamber doors opening to reveal the courtyard once more. The morning sun has climbed higher, its light gilding the stone lions and burning away the last of night's chill. As we exit, the magistrate falls in step beside us, his bronze scales of office clinking softly. Messenger, he says quietly, voice more earnest than before. The roads beyond Lianzhou are as treacherous as these halls. Bandits, rival clans, and wild beasts roam the passes. You carry the realm's hope. May your steel and resolve guide you. You nod, the fan's phoenix imprint brushing your palm like a blessing. Together we will carve a path through any shadow, you reply. Beyond the gates, the city bustles anew. Children chase lantern glowworms, merchants haggle over tea leaves, and carts laden with granary stores roll toward the docks. The day unfolds like a scroll painted in vibrant hues, promise woven with peril. And at the city's edge, where cobblestone gives way to dusty road, a mounted courier awaits, a pale-faced rider bearing a sealed letter. You reach for the letter's cord, heart quickening. The courier's mare stamps the ground, its breath misting in the morning air as you approach. The pale-faced rider nods and unsheathes a long scroll sealed in wax, an emblem of twin dragons entwined. His gloved fingers tremble as he offers it to you. Around, the dusty road stretches toward mist-shrouded peaks, whispering of bandit ambushes and the uncharted wilds beyond. Breaking the seal reveals the Emperor's personal hand, an urgent missive detailing unrest in the western provinces, where a splinter faction threatens the trade caravans carrying supplies to reinforce the Southern Alliance. The message warns that if the faction is not quelled, the fragile treaty may fracture, sending the realm back into shadow. We mount our steeds and set forth down the road, the scroll strapped securely within your cloak. The path is rutted by caravan wheels, flanked by paddy fields that sparkle with dew. Each hoofbeat echoes across a landscape painted in jade and amber as dawn's light warms the earth. The first village we encounter huddles beneath a protective stand of bamboo. Straw-thatched huts sit in neat rows, Wisps of smoke rise from clay hearths. Children chase chickens along the dirt road. A potter's kiln glows faintly where artisans shape future vessels. At a roadside shrine you pause to offer incense, 3 sticks lit in the flicker of morning. The scent of sandalwood lifts your spirit as you pray for safe passage and the strength to uphold the realm's trust. The shrine's weathered statue of Guanyin watches over travellers, moss-softening carved lotus petals. Continuing onward, we cross a wooden bridge spanning a swift brook. Blue-green water gurgles beneath, carrying fallen leaves in miniature whirlpools. Beneath the boards, moss carpets the stones, and you catch a glimpse of a koi's brightly coloured form darting between submerged roots. Beyond the bridge, the road climbs through a dense bamboo forest. Shafts of sunlight slice through swaying stalks, illuminating dust motes like drifting fireflies. The ground is soft with fallen leaves, each step a whisper as your horses navigate the narrow pass. Midway through, the forest hushes, an unnatural stillness. The silence is broken by the faint tinkle of metal. A tripwire across the path catches your eye. You signal the riders behind you. Halt. With a practiced hand, you dismount and inspect the trap. A cluster of metal blades, short but razor-sharp, strung to swing at an unfortunate traveller. The courier's face pales. Bandits must be near. You gingerly unfasten the trigger mechanism, disarming the trap and securing the blades in your satchel for later forging, or for justice. Mounting again, you press forward, senses heightened. As the bamboo thins, a clearing emerges, sun-dappled and ringed by low stone walls inscribed with faded runes. Here, the Splinter faction holds temporary camp. Bloody tents billow in the breeze, and the stench of burning tar hangs heavy. Figures move within, armed men sparing for practice, a makeshift armoury where crude weapons hang from racks of driftwood. You unsheathe the blade forged in the mountain forge, its edge gleaming with promise. With the courier at your side, we skirt the camp's edge, seeking the faction leader's tent. Larger than the rest, it is draped with banners of black and crimson. The faction's sigil a twisted serpent coiled around a broken wheel. Inside the tent, the leader lounges atop a pile of furs flanked by lieutenants whose eyes gleam with opportunism. He regards you with a lip curled, curiosity laced with contempt. The Emperor's messenger, he intones, voice like scraping stone. Come to parley or to perish. You bow, voice calm but firm, to preserve the realm's unity. Placing the scroll before him, you continue. The Emperor offers amnesty in exchange for peace. Stand down, and we will honour your service with land grants and inclusion in the Southern Trade Network. You feel the Phoenix fan's warmth, as if guiding your words. The leader's gaze flicks to the scroll, then to your blade. He smiles, a slow curl of malice. Peace? Or submission? I forged my path in blood, not diplomacy. Yet. He leans forward, hand brushing the treaty's wax seal. What guarantee do I have that this alliance will survive the next frost? You produce a shard of steel, polished and tempered. This is the promise of Winter's Forge, strength born of struggle. Let your blade be tempered by the same fire. Join us, and your legacy will stand as steadfast as the mountains. You lay the shard beside the scroll. He weighs your offer, silence thick as fog. Finally he nods, slow, deliberate. I will send word to my men. Let the barbarians who threaten our roads be dealt with, and I will swear allegiance to the Emperor. The tense lieutenants grunt assent. Outside, the camp erupts in muted celebration. You know this fragile peace hinges on the next steps, escorting supplies to starving villages along the pass, ensuring no further raids disrupt southern trade. We depart the clearing under a sun now high overhead, the scroll of peace and steel shard secured once more. As the bamboo forest closes behind us, the path winds toward distant peaks where snow still lingers at the summits. Each mile onward will test our resolve. Mountains to cross, villages to aid, the Emperor's trust to uphold. But for now, the realm's unity is rekindled, an ember glowing against the chill of uncertainty, carried forward by those who bear steel, script, and unwavering purpose. The trail emerges from the bamboo into a rocky gorge where the sun struggles to pierce the narrow chasm. We tread cautiously, the weight of the peace accord and shard of steel lodged in our packs, a fragile balance of diplomacy and might. Water drips from moss-laden overhangs, each drop echoing like a distant bell, counting out moments in this suspended realm between stone and sky. Your boots slip against slick rock, and you steady yourself with a hand pressed to the rough wall, feeling its cold heartbeat. The courier rides just ahead, the dawn light glinting off his mail-plated braces. Behind us, the former faction fighters march in uneasy formation, their crude steel blades sheathed, faces unreadable beneath frost-kissed cloaks. We reach a fast-flowing river swollen by spring melt. The bridge is gone, torn away by winter's wrath. The water roils beneath, froth swirling like ghosts. You can taste the minerality in the spray, feel its chill bite at exposed skin. Across the river, 2 wooden platforms stand on opposite banks, ropes stretch taut between them, supporting a simple cable car basket. We lower the basket into the water with a pulley. The former faction fighters watch in silence as you step inside, clutching the scroll and the steel shard. The courier secures the ropes, and with creaking planks and straining cables, the basket begins its slow traverse. Each movement is a negotiation with gravity, a suspended moment where rock and river conspire to test resolve. Halfway across, the ropes groan and the basket sways. Beneath, the river seems to surge higher, water pounding against the wooden frame. You steady the basket with one hand, the other wrapped around the scroll. In this suspended world, sound narrows to the hiss of wind through chasm walls and the pulse of your own heartbeat. Finally, with a soft thud, you reach the opposite bank. Hands reach to steady you as you step out, boots sinking into pebbles warmed by early sun. The men across the rope grimace relief. The fragile piece holds for now. We push on along the cliffside path, narrow and edged by sudden drops. Wind whistles through fissures, carrying the cry of griffon hawks riding thermal currents far above. The landscape shifts. Pines give way to scrub juniper, and the air grows thinner with each ascending step. At a mountain ledge, we stumble upon a hidden grotto, its mouth framed by twisted roots and icicle stalactites. Inside, torches flicker against the damp walls, revealing figures kneeling in silence before a stone altar carved with ancient runes. They wear robes of deep azure, their heads bowed, monks of the Forgotten Order, rumoured to guard knowledge lost to time. A hush falls as we enter. The head monk lifts his gaze, eyes like polished chalcedony. He gestures to the altar, where a weathered tome lies open. Pages of parchment inscribed with hand-drawn maps and arcane symbols. "Welcome, bearer of peace and steel," he intones, voice a soft echo. "Your realm's fate is inscribed here, but its destiny lies in choices yet made." You step to the altar and study the maps. Routes through glacier fields, hidden passes marked with warning symbols, villages untouched by war but threatened by starvation. The tome hints at sanctuaries where aid might reach those forgotten by the Empire's grasp. The head monk speaks again. "You carry the Emperor's decree, but mercy must follow might. Will you venture into the silent valley, where no traders pass and no armies patrol? There, children starve and elders pray for deliverance." His gaze meets yours, unwavering. The courier shifts, unease in his posture. The restored faction fighters exchange glances. Some nod in solemn agreement. You lift the treaty scroll and place it on the altar. "We will abide by these maps and bring relief to the silent valley. Mercy shall be our forge." The monks bow, faces brightening. As we prepare to leave, the head monk offers a woven satchel of herbs, roots that soothe fevered brows and barks that still trembling bellies. "Carry these to the valley's edge. Let hope root where once only silence grew." You accept the satchel, feeling its weight stead your resolve. We retrace our steps out of the grotto, the path narrowing and the wind growing harsh. Patches of snow linger in shadowed recesses, crunching underfoot. Each step carries us higher into the realm, where mountain air grows thin and intentions test the metal of hearts. At the summit, we pause on a ridge overlooking a vast expanse. The silent valley unfolds below, a field of withered grass and cracked earth, speckled with collapsed huts. Smoke spirals from one distant hearth, proof that life claws onward. You raise your hand, shielding eyes against the sun's glare. In your other hand, the steel shard pulses faintly, a reminder of every forge that shaped our path. The satchel of herbs swings at your belt, its promise of healing heavy. The wind whispers through the ridge, carrying the chant of the valley's prayers. You breathe deep, tasting dust and hope. This is our next trial, you say to the company. Below lies suffering that knows no war, only neglect. We will bring fire against the cold of famine and mercy against the frost of despair. With that we begin our descent, towards shattered homes and silent cries, guided by maps inked in sacrifice and the unwavering pulse of destiny. The silent valley yawns before us, a sea of brittle grasses rustling like hushed whispers beneath a pale sun. We descend along a worn trail, boots stirring dusty soil that crackles underfoot. Below, the valley floor stretches wide, scattered huts dark against the ochre landscape, fragile smoke spiralling from a lone hearth. You step into the valley's heart, the air dry and sharp, carrying the scent of parched earth and distant herbs. The maps from the Forgotten Order guided us true, and now we see the toll of time's neglect. Hollows where fields once lay, wells choked with silt, and the hollowed eyes of those who watch us approach. A group of villagers gathers near the shattered remains of a communal granary. A wooden structure splintered, its store of millet spilled and trampled. Children cling to the skirts of their mothers, faces drawn with hunger's mark. An elder steps forward, his ribs outlined beneath faded robes, voice a rasp as he greets you. Emperor's messenger, he breathes. We survive on memories of warmth. Can you bring more than words? He gestures to a patch of earth where the stirrings of new crops fail under unbroken sun. At your command, the former faction fighters and monks distribute the herbs from the grotto satchel. Roots steeped in steaming water, leaves crushed into porridge. The aroma of ginger and lotus warms the valley, each sip restoring faint colour to sunken cheeks. You oversee as rice from Lianzhou's granaries is measured and shared, each grain a pledge of solidarity. The steel shard, now worn smooth in its journey, rests on a carved stone beside the elder. You lift it and place its tip in the earth, guidance for a young farmer who tills the dust with trembling hands. Plant hope here, you say, and tend it with care. The shard glows faintly in your palm. An ember of resolve transferred to new roots. Under our care, the village breathes anew. Wells are cleared. Irrigation channels coax water from distant springs. The elders guide children in sowing seeds. Hands that once lifted empty bowls now press grains into welcoming furrows. The wind stirs the fields, carrying laughter and the scent of fresh soil. As dusk falls, lanterns appear at each hut, soft orbs of golden light naming each home. We gather at the revived granary, now reinforced with bamboo beams and woven mats. The air is rich with the scent of cooking rice and roasted chestnuts. A feast of gratitude unfolds. Bowls clink, spoons scoop, and voices lift in song, a melody woven from relief and renewed faith. You stand before the villagers, the fan's phoenix motif prominent against your cloak. This valley was lost to silence, but through unity we have restored its song, you declare. Let the ember of hope we planted tonight burn bright against any frost that follows. The villagers cheer, their voices rising like a chorus of wind chimes. Above, stars emerge, constellations we traced from northern forges to southern seas. The steel shard is returned to your side, its journey complete yet promising new beginnings. At the valley's edge you pause. The wind carries the scent of ember and earth, anointing you with the promise of roads yet untravelled. In your pocket the vial of elixir remains, a testament to gifts that heal and guide. 2 more journeys await around the bend. Don't miss them. Subscribe and ring that bell.